Hello, navigators. Welcome to yet another episode of Navigating Life with Viwe. We are back for yet another insightful conversation. And as you know, I never sit alone, neither do I ever converse alone. I am very excited today. I'm excited because I do want to declare for somebody who's sitting on the other side of this, I am the only woman on set. So you know how that feels for me. Let's come for these men. Okay. Mawethu. So
Come for us.
Mawethu, how are you today?
I'm very well, and how are you doing, Viwe?
Thank you so
Always
much
a
for
pleasure,
joining.
an honor, and a privilege to be here.
I love
Yet
it.
again.
I love it. We do have in studio an author. Okay.
Yeah,
This is a
yet
male
again.
author.
Wow.
This is a local male author. This is a South African man. Men are progressively writing about important things. Okay. So do get yourself a copy. But I do want to say we do have Mr. Mqatazana, Zolani. And if I may just take a minute of your time, he is in his early 30s. So, sisebancane la.
Yeah,
Are we taken?
not yet.
Not yet. Ladies, niyayazi ndiyane zam. Okay. I keep asking important questions. So akatatwanga, that we know.
Soon to be.
Well, ladies, okusalayo, ayikabi gold till ikoro ne. Love it. But then yes, soon to be, as we note that, of course from East London, trained as an educator, holds a Bachelor of Honors in Inclusive Education. He is a communication lecturer at a TVET college locally. And he's a founder as well of Zolani M Networks. We're going to be learning about that. I do believe that is one of the engines that you use for your work, which is quite interesting, which we will get into. And the company that he runs is a communications company. And he has held conferences already in the 3-year tenure of this company, and he will be hosting another one. And I hope every man that's on the other side of the screen, and I hope your man, ladies, will be buying that ticket. We will share details of the event. And that long introduction, ladies and gentlemen, was for none other than Zolani. Zolani, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you for such a warm greeting and welcome.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for honoring us today. We are seated here at a time where we are actually very aware of the importance of mental health. And I think June especially has come out as a time where we actually deal with men's mental health.
Yeah.
Do you even need interventions? Like, why the hell are we talking mental health? You guys are supposed to be strong, aren't you? Men are supposed to be strong. You know, Lando iti ndindoda.
Yeah.
In the realest sense.
Yeah.
It should be lived out. I don't know. Have you ever felt, Wes? Oh, by the way, before I continue, I do want to say we do have Brian, our very lovely Brian, joining us. He's not in studio, but you shall be hearing his voice and his thoughts, because for the wealth of this conversation, he could not set it out. So, Brian, wherever you are, how are you, man?
I'm good. I hope everyone is also okay. Always nice being around and being part of a conversation when it comes to navigating life, and especially this one. You just asked the question: do we even need to?
Do you want to run with it?
Of course we need. Of course we need to be aware of our mental health.
Wow. Guys, I feel like that's progressive. That's evolution. That's man moving maybe to the direction that actually pushes society forward, because maybe there's a possibility that we can turn this corner. But I want to come back now and speak to maybe the I guess for the day. Maybe we'll kick this conversation with you.
Sure.
What's your concern concerning men's health? Are we taking good care of men in our societies? And if not, what needs to be done?
Sure. I just had a revelation or an epiphany, I think 2 days ago. And this revelation, it says our Africanism,
Okay.
unfortunately, Mr. Brian, to some extent, does not accommodate our emotional and mental dimensions.
Okay.
And I repeated this, or it was the first time I said it out loud yesterday when I was speaking somewhere.
I see.
You see, we are more focused on ulwaluko.
Okay.
Our
As a cultural
Africanism.
practice,
Yes.
yeah.
We are more focused on farming. We are more focused on what you are supposed to do as a boy child, because I want to start from there.
I see.
As a boy child,
Okay.
these are the expectations the society has when it comes to you and your role in society. But we are often robbed of the opportunity to be asked, how are you?
Okay.
Whether from a mother or from a father's perspective. A child, a boy child, even a man in this case. For you to be asked, how are you? I like what you were saying earlier. When you opened, you said that aren't men supposed to be strong? So it's given that as a man asking you how are you, I mean, what? That's not a question
a
you're supposed to
no-brainer.
be asked. It's obvious. In fact, we don't even bother how you feel. We just want you on the go. We want you in motion all the time.
Wow.
So that is something that stuck with me, and I feel that's one of the pressures men are faced with.
Okay.
It's a pressure that men are faced with, and they bottle these things up because once they start talking about them, again, they are seen as weak. They are seen as sissies. There are these labels that are given to men. When men start now tapping into their emotional
Emotions.
and mental well-being, that's
I don't know.
the problem we have in society.
I see. I don't know if though, and I don't want you to. I'm actually here learning, so do take my questions as honestly just to get the information from the people that I assume know better. And I do want to use real life experiences. And I
Yes.
want to, because it's one thing for us to say men aren't supported. Men, what do men need? Have you ever felt, and I'm asking you as from your own person, and maybe you, Brian, anyone can share, an instance where you felt like, everything in my bone and in my body is telling me that I cannot cope in this situation.
Yeah.
I'm not big enough, to carry it, whether emotionally or physically or spiritually. But I am here putting up a face that says I am a man and I cannot cry, I cannot break down, and I cannot ask for help. I've got to figure this one out on my own. Do we have such experiences?
Yeah.
Where we take this thing and we place it on the floor, otherwise it remains there for all of us. Men in mental, what are you guys talking about?
Yeah, our training says we must just put up a bravado
Okay.
wherever we go, and come with this image of strength and ability to conquer your demons. And you must not show yourself as a weak
Man.
personality, and you must come with that disposition of being a protector, a provider, and someone who is indomitable. Who has an indomitable spirit. But the truth is, naturally, you do get hurt, you do get harmed, your ego gets battered and bruised, and you need to show that off somewhere. You need to be able to breathe and say, I can't cope. Once you do that, it's a mark of failure. I have felt many times that, look, I need to express myself, I need to cry, but I can't do it in front of the crowds. They can't see me in this state. And then I'll sneak out in a corner and just...
I have a follow-up to what you're saying, because for me, I'm thinking you are avoiding crying in front of people because there is an image of strength that you want to portray.
Yeah.
Right. And the reason why I'm asking you this question is not to invalidate your true feelings at the time, but it is to maybe question whether we have come to a point of clarity as men in terms of what we stand by. Because I can tell you from that, for me, I draw information that seems to suggest that you're not crying because you are the leader. If you cry, who are the people? What are the people around you going to look at as a center? To center them around whatever issue that is happening. Whether you've lost a job, you can't take care of your family, you find it impossible to cry around them. For me, it still ties in with the image of who you want to be as a leader, right? But now you're flipping the coin now and you're saying, no, but I want to cry. I want to cry. Now, how do we then make a healthy balance in the image that you want to portray as a man, and there's a leader in the family and a leader in society? in traditional society, and the fact that you also too wanna cry. Like, siyahamba neyiphi, how do we balance this thing? Nifuna ndoni kanye kanye, you know, as men. Do you wanna cry, or do you wanna not cry?
I don't want to cry.
But crying is an emotional
wanna be
reaction,
Sorry.
or it's a result of your emotions.
Yes.
No, because the reason why I'm asking, and I'm grateful that he's honest to say he doesn't want to cry, because up until the battle is resolved within you, men, you know, how do you want to carry yourselves organically? I don't know if Brian, wherever he is, wants to come in on this one. Briano, are you there? Are you
Absolutely.
wanting to come in on this one?
Yeah, I want to cry. On an honest note, I think, and I fully agree with Zolani when he says, crying is an emotional reaction.
I understand.
We are emotional beings as people.
Yes.
Innately, right?
Yes.
However, society, okanye life has dealt a card towards men that does not allow for emotion. Where the moment you start showing emotion, you are labeled. There's already a designated label that is going to be attached to you. Ndobana soft, you're a sissy, okanye you're a wuss, okanye you just type of thing. So it's very natural to cry. I mean, I think if I were to answer for men, give us the space to. We're not saying we want to, but allow the space to exist and do understand, Ubana, we are also just like everyone else.
I get that, and I love that. I love the honesty, Brian. Thank you so much for weighing in. Zolani, what's your view on this? And I want to ask it also tied to something. So 4 times men kill themselves, you know, by direct ratio. 4 times more than women do, right? And it's a problematic statistics because it's suggestive of something that is just not normal, you know, because population dynamics, there's more women than there is men, but yet you guys are killing yourselves, you know, bigger than we are, you know, but and seeking help seems to be a problem, you know, with you guys. Now do come in, because I felt like you wanted to come in.
I wanted to add to what Mr. Brian is saying there.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the issue of emotions against actions.
Yeah.
Because we should not, or society should not be immediate to synonymize our crying physically with our actions. Because it's a temporary thing. It's a momentary thing for you to cry. But post that, how are my actions?
Don't move.
Are my actions saying I'm a weak man? Or are my actions showing that I am a real man? So do I forfeit now my manhood by crying in public? Is there no occasion, is there no instance that has led to one crying?
I love that. I love that. And I think you are adding to what Mawetu was saying, but you're also posing a further question, if I'm picking it right.
Zolani is basically saying men do cry. I think it's a myth that men don't cry.
No,
We've been told that men don't cry. I think the implication of that is you can't mope. If you cry, but come out of it. Snap out of it.
Everybody should snap out of
Don't
crying,
cry and mope and wallow in your pain and misery. You know? When you are crying, let it be maybe a temporary release, like he's saying. All right? Maybe you're crying for your nation, you're crying for this, you're crying for that, or you're crying for that. It's not really about the pain, the physical pain itself. It's about the projected state that you see. You know, don't cry for me, Argentina, sort of thing. You
I
know?
feel like you guys want to cry because you want
If you look
to
at
let the pain
the
off.
older you get, the more your pain is in sync with your emotion and your soul.
Why is that?
Yeah, because most men cry. You see a Madala crying unprovoked. They
Can I
would be
maybe
asked to
suggest-
give a vote of thanks in a family gathering. They start crying. They start shedding tears because sometimes it's tears of joy, obviously. So men do cry.
I think
But
the
la
older...
ndoba indoda ikhali, it means you can't, as a man, say someone else must come with a solution. You should provide that solution. If you look at men in any society, they are the ones who lay down their lives for their families, who lay down their lives for their society. So if they are crying at the possibility that their societies will be vulnerable without them. I don't know if I make sense.
I want to suggest something. I still think the decision to cry or not still sits with men. I think even bigger than what, the stigma might be, what I'm picking up and what I want to maybe suggest, and I don't know if you guys agree, is that maybe the older you get, drawing from what Tumawetu was saying, and I'm under your whatever stewardship, whatever, is that what they call it? You guys must guide me here. But I think the older you get, the more you become more honest with yourself. Hence, it becomes easier, Because here's the thing, and I think here's the blockage for us women in understanding how you guys fully function. There's still the ego part in you, that is big, ne?
Your
right?
tears betray you. They just come out.
There's still the
Why
ego,
you trying to,
to
be gangster?
And I think before we go on a much too much, on the streets and saying attention, I'd still think the internal work, Nyani, needs a men's imbizo. Guys need to get resolved within yourselves.
Definitely.
Are you wanting to be understood as humans, to operate as humans, to cry when it's time to cry, and to understand that crying does not necessarily take away your role in society, because you spoke of the momentarily whatever aspect of this tear situation, but if you self-judge within yourself, you're not going to cry, and you are, one thing I want to move forward to as well as we transition is there is this notion of pain that is being passed down from people that don't process their pain. And with boys, it does come up that some boys who have not been fathered properly, either by a present father, by an intentional father, by a father that understands the role fully, they keep the pain and unintentionally pass it on and create these patterns within African societies of men that are not showing up for their role and so on, right? Where do you think, do you really think that has an effect on men, or is it just us analyzing and looking from outside?
I think it's already preset. It's historical in the Yobana. Men's emotions or your feelings will be it's always been there. It's the expectation has always been Ubana, a man must work, a man must be the head of the household. You are given all of this responsibility, and you are taught all of this. You are indoctrinated into it actually from your childhood. You must know the responsibility lies on you. We can put it in so many different ways, or right down to English. And I'm glad you actually brought up the statistic when it comes to the male suicide rate. In South Africa and in the world, it is much higher because the pressures of being a man lead to such a space where indoda ikhali. So instead of crying, you end your life. I can't handle this anymore. Wow. So instead of it literally gets to that. I mean, I had you have these conversations of when I flip, okay, life unzima, right? And I don't know who to turn to. I don't know who to cry to. I don't have a shoulder to lean on. And because you feel so isolated, you end up thinking, when I flip, the best idea is just let me end it, because this situation will be better off if I'm not around. Do we need a space? We definitely need a change in thought, or a change in mind, a change in approach. A damaged young boy grows up to be a damaged man, and when that damaged man fathers a child, they damage the child, and they damage the family. It keeps going. It becomes a repetitive cycle that is not broken. There's a reason why you will find in Dobana there are men who become abusive because they were abused themselves. They were raised in a situation that did not allow for emotions to be considered, feelings to be considered. You have to ask your son. You have to ask your daughter. Grand, or sharp. Let them cry. Give them that space. And I think the more that gets done, and I mean, I'm glad Ngoku we have Abantu Abafana no Zolani, we're progressive men now. We are able to talk about our emotions, and we will definitely be able to father our kids better as a result of us being understood. They will then also be able to father their children better because bakhuliswa ngendlela ethile.
I understand. Thank you for that. You know, as girls, there's something that we grow into. You know, friendships are a big thing in our lives, even as children.
Right.
And then we develop certain mechanisms of surviving within these friendships. But what they do throughout our lives, they create a space for us to be vulnerable. Yes, they come with a lot of drama. You know, you'll be like, oh, my best friend betrayed me. And then you move on to another one. But naturally, that's how we grow up within relationships. And that's how we also learn how to be and behavior that affects one person to the next and so on. And it becomes a cushion now. It's not a matter of whether or not you've had a best friend for 15 years, but you will have someone naturally in your life that you carry. Is that brotherhood something that is cultivated within men, such that it's a safe space, you know, for you to literally just be vulnerable, to be like, I'm scared? Or even in your small circles, is it a matter of we are strong? Because I wonder, as I sit from outside, that within the men's, you know, formations, is there that thing where you're like, I have got Zolani as a man, and yes, Zolani, you know, Brian becomes to Zolani, I hear that, I will fake maintenance, glamdan. Bra, that's not forgivable, you know. Bra ndivile into yoba man, you messing around with another girl endaweni ethile. And you know how that does not align with your greatest vision for your life. You know, those sensible conversations, how do we gut them by small formations that support the visions for what we want in life? Is it a fair question?
Too fair.
Okay, let's go.
I would say
Too fair.
it depends on the maturity of the individual,
Aha.
right?
Oh.
One of the reasons why I created a space for men to converse
Yes.
under various topics, but the key one is your father's love.
Yeah.
One of them is that I realized through my observation that when men gather,
Yeah.
they're not fully honest with each other. That's my experience. And I take it to an example of when men or young men talk about women.
Aha.
And when I like the analogy of cheating,
Aha.
where I'll come to Mr. Bride and say to him, I've been cheated on.
Yeah.
His response is not a comforting one, will not be a comforting one.
Aha.
He will laugh. He will make me feel even worse, more worse than what I was when I came to him. And young, listen to this. He's wearing a mask because I've also triggered him. And he also went through the same thing, and he never said it. He never had the guts to say it. I had the guts to say it. I'm talking about maturity now.
Men.
Right?
Men.
Yeah.
Then we move from there now. There are a couple of young men in their early 20s I am mentoring. In our conversations, I've realized there's something common among them.
Yeah.
They are unfortunately faced with this predicament of keeping quiet when a friend comes to them and not really is seeking advice, but they share something so close to their heart that is quite bothering them at the time. And one of them said, no, I keep quiet. I keep quiet because I think I don't have the right to counsel him, tell him what to do about his life. And I felt that I had to come in and educate him now to say, no, when you are doing that, it's not you dictating his life, but it's you giving guidance on what is on the table.
Yeah.
It's not rocket science. Give your opinion, because as you are listening, there's something that you is going on in your mind. Share that with him, because you don't know what impact those words will have on the friend. So it goes back to maturity. And maturity, I don't know why. Hey, I'm tempted to say, does one learn maturity, or how does one acquire maturity?
I believe.
I'd say take the bitter and the sweet. You see, what Zolani is saying is very crucial. When men cry to one another, there are certain elements that I would identify as unfortunate, where somebody would actually take Brian's deficiencies, for instance, and then I go and drink tea over his deficiencies. Hey, do you know what Mr. Ndevu said to me the other day? He's going through this, that, and the other. You see, that is wrong. That is very uncalled for. Have that sense of confidentiality. Keep somebody's secrets. When another man comes pouring his heart out to you, treat that with sworn secrecy. But have a solution within that circle of groups to say, okay, fine, I reassure you of my silence. This is a maximum vow of silence. But let's tackle this problem, 1 inch at a time, desist from doing ABCD, as long as you're speaking from a point of love and not from a point of hate, to say, listen, I beseech you to avoid ABCD, to avoid certain things that are oppositional to your character or to your destiny. All right, certain behaviors, certain attributes about you, a certain reputation about you, a certain actions, that do not really construct this image of you that we know you to potentially be, or you're just a shadow of your former self because you have neglected certain disciplines that made you an upright member of society. So you're an enemy unto yourself. I'm just making an example. So we just need to be mature about how we handle someone else's indiscretions, so to speak.
I see. Thank you for that, Wes. Wow. Strong men don't cry, right?
In public.
Oh,
Strong men don't cry in public. That, at least, that's what life has made it out to be.
no, we know that. Crying is a basic human emotion, expression, whatever you call it. So surely we are all born with the capacity to cry. But strong black men don't cry. And strong black men don't cry. They find other ways. They wear masks.
Yo,
They drink.
yo,
They cheat.
yo.
They lie. They self-destruct. And one can maybe point to something that's a reflection of that men are fearful. Maybe I'm just suggesting it. I'm not a man.
And you are correct in your suggestion.
And I want to say, we always say in this podcast that part of the reason we host these conversations is also to make sure that we host conversations that are not necessarily being held, at least not to the extent we think we would like to believe we are having them. And part of that means that we don't always host conversations at a point where we're talking principle, because there we can all preach and sing in unison. But at a point where life touches us, at a point where we want to be seen as humans that are able to feel emotions, what has been your greatest fear, Zolani, as men?
Wow. What has been my greatest fear? Oh, wow. Now it comes.
And you're the one that actually nodded the loudest when Viwe was saying men are fearful.
Oh,
so
okay.
tell us of your fears.
Yeah. but just my biggest fear is losing myself.
That's quite progressive for a man.
In that book, I talk about self-awareness.
What do you mean, even losing yourself?
I under no circumstances do I want to lose myself.
Okay.
That's why at the beginning of this recording, I mentioned the dimensions we as human beings have.
Yeah.
I mentioned the emotional and the psychological one. But there's also your physical and your spiritual one.
Yeah.
They are all intertwined. But you'd find that we pay attention, less attention to the
others.
spiritual as well as the emotional one.
Yeah.
Even your psychological, mental one.
Yeah.
Okay. So I fear to lose myself.
Okay.
I fear to lose
I
myself.
think that's progressive. Do you know, at the level I'm asking the question at, right? It is based on the assumption of a strong black man, and based on that man being a very hard to crack nut. We don't cry, and I'm saying at the level where you are expected to be strong, what have you been able to admit to yourself? To say, you know what, I'm fearful of this thing. You know, I might put up a brave face. Finding yourself, which is absolutely beautiful. I really, you know, and making sure that you keep yourself. That's very progress. That's on our side. You know, that's ladies doing that.
Exactly.
Because emotionally,
Exactly.
we
I
are
like what you're
ahead.
saying, that it's ladies.
We are ahead, man. You know,
Yes.
it's us that side. I want to say, yeah, when you're standing in that wuhlandi, in that crawl full of men, where you are supposed to all be there with your big-sized egos and absolutely
Big-sized
non-fearful, where you're just like, you know what, this perfect non-fearful man ain't me, because I have my fears.
Yes.
And my fears are 1, 2, and 3. I want to hear those fears, Zolani. Are you that man, that human man that feels and that's touched by life?
Maybe I'll be answering you or not, I don't know. But
I understand.
just to expand on what I was saying, I said I fear losing myself
Okay.
based on expectations people have
I
about
see.
me.
Now I hear you.
No.
Now I hear you.
Yabona, in that book, I talk about
Yeah.
the disadvantages of being self-aware.
Oh.
If it's under self-awareness, I think it's under that one.
Uh-huh,
But being too confident and too self-aware, we ask about awoyiki kwanto.
Chesa.
Awoyiki kwanto, and that is very intimidating. Disadvantage now. It's very intimidating to other people you are in relationships with. As a result, you could lose some relationships. But Yongoku, I am willing to lose them.
Because we're working from inside now.
Oh, definitely.
We're not
That's why
starting
earlier
with
I liked
them.
what you were saying when you were
Yeah.
saying we need to work on the internal
Ah.
aspect of a person, of a man. I want to talk about man. Yeah, one. I like that one because gumsebenzi.
It is work.
Gumsebenzi that comes with experiences and acknowledging experiences that you have gone through instead of usfage under the carpet.
I understand.
Yeah, so when I get to that point, but you have to tread carefully because uphila nabantu.
Yes.
But I will never compromise what I believe in and what I know about myself. I know I can never. The spiritual aspect, ke ngoku, one of those things ezindibangela menjalo is because I know that ubomi bam is built on Christ.
I love that. You know, we love anchored men.
I know that one.
Men that are anchored, guys, that's who we are hoping to coexist with.
Ifuna ibalance ke kodwa.
No, absolutely. I love that input. I know my Brian, wherever we are, we haven't forgotten about you. We'll come to you just now. Men asking for help. Men asking for going for therapy. Men resting. Men saying no, setting boundaries. One would think that is a strength of a man, you know? But does it always hold? Mawethu, do you say no when you're supposed to say no? Do you go for therapy when you understand that you are overwhelmed and you are not coping with all the pieces of your life? Do you understand, you know, what's your real life circumstance? Let me put it that way.
I get whatever help I need. All right. And I do hope that I'm able to discern when to ask for help and when not to ask for help. I do not always want to show myself off as somebody who cowers under his challenges. All right. But
As a man.
well, as a man, I all right. Maybe I should
No, don't change perspective. I was
base
just
my comment on the expectation that in order for a man to be true to his identity, he must show characteristics about him that are similar to those of a woman. I do not subscribe to that school of thought. So I am very skeptical on the challenge to the men that men, it is okay to cry. Of course it is okay to cry. We must cry. But I do not expect if my female counterpart, there was a gossip going on about her, and then she starts crying because of those opinions of those other people. It is expected from women. They will cry when they hurt.
Yeah.
But I do not expect when I'm going to a guy and I say, Zolani, you know, I've heard this and that about you, and then the guy breaks down and cry.
I
That
think
doesn't look good.
you need to resolve this because I'm here representing ladies, right? And I need you to stand on something and stand firm on it.
Yeah.
Are we crying? Because Zolani just said you know, and which I quite felt was progressive.
Yes.
That his one thing now, I might not quote him verbatim, is that he lives his life in a way that does not seek to fit into any frame of any person. And you've just made an example of a woman crying because somebody has said something ugly about them. Are you not maybe unintentionally also putting a condition to men, which is what we are trying to kill? You know, let Zolani react however he reacts as a man to the same issue that would have made a woman cry, because that's how we then become progressive. If it's also in a framing of issues, you can't say men can cry, but I absolutely, you know, if I tell you that somebody said your girlfriend was with another man, you know, if it's heartbreaking to him, can we allow him to cry? Can we give men full permission to cry? It's either we give it fully or we don't give it at all. So you guys, that's why I said the work, as much as we are emotionally progressive as species compared to you guys, because as I tell you, I believe we've had a lot of training, and part of that training has also been men, you know, whom have groomed us to actually be more inquisitive about our emotions and their health mentally. We're not yet there, but we also know we are ahead of you guys. Can we grant you guys full permission to cry, and for you guys to determine at a personal level, not at a grouping level, at a gender level, when to cry? So I'm here asking, are you going to issue men the full permission to cry?
Please understand me. Understand me. I am against the notion that men have a problem with women being recognized the most. Women's Day, Mother's Day,
Are we there now?
International Women's Day. It's okay for men not to have those, you know, toe to toe with women. All right? I do not believe that men should be crying for attention. I don't believe that men should be mollycoddled to say, okay, Ndota, it's okay, come. Where does it hurt?
Guys, nobody should cry for
right.
fun. Like,
Where
I feel
does it
like-
hurt? Where does it hurt, my boy? No, men should, I don't know, we should not, okay, to little children, oh, for sure, we should give them a sense of belonging. But a fully grown man, it will
Mustn't
make
cry.
our society vulnerable, where men now have been equated to women, to say, okay, I want to cry. They are crying, I also want to cry. They are getting gifts, I also want to get gifts on Father's Day. They are getting that, I also want to, you know, there is this toe-to-toe comparison with women. And for us to be upright men, we must start crying.
I think we need models. I think if there's a better time in society for male influencers to actually come out crying, come out validating, because I think you also you sort of eat your own tail within the same expression of wanting to be heard and wanting support. You know, there's an ego that must be maintained, that's coming across from you, Wes, which is part of your identity as men. But it's confusing. How do we support men if men still don't want to cry at every instance? Because that cannot take away your ability to lead in society if you are crying, unless and doing away with terms like sissies need aggressive action. Maybe you guys could actually come out of the show and be influencers for the type of man you want to be seen as in society. There is a lot of work that needs to be done. Because I think as much as men do cry out for help, this thing is still a bit too scattered. Because I think even within yourselves, men aren't to resolve on how they want this mental health to unfold. Because there's still the protection of tradition and culture and ego, balanced with the realities of living in modern day society, where the pressures are a lot. And as we transition, we're going to black text and the expectation to provide. A ndoda must. It's a very favorite term of mine. Indoda. A ndoda must. And this ndoda must is happening in the context, and I want to create the context for you guys to understand that we are living in societies that are highly connected. So every person, every man who does something for their child, and every man who is now doing something for their partner is putting it out there for everybody to see. And everybody models what they see on their socials, you know, and that pressure then comes and is delivered right onto your lap. You must, because you are a daughter. You know, how does, and I want to go to Brian first, wherever you are, Brian. How do you see this dynamic, and what do you think it does to a man in terms of, I don't know, whether or not you still see yourself as a man or not, if you aren't able to do what a ndoda is expected to do in society?
I think I want to first answer this by saying, when an indoda must live.
Chisa, indoda must?
Indoda must live.
And daughter must live, must breathe, must eat.
Ha.
Okay.
Primarily.
Must love and must pray.
Indoda must not be put under undue pressure to perform societal expectations, to fulfill societal expectations. Indoda must fulfill his own expectations, and it goes back to identification and knowledge of self. Knowledge of self. Live up to your fullest potential, not the projected or expected fullest potential of what you could be capable of. You must live up to what you can do.
I have a follow-up, but I have a follow-up in studio. I want this,
Sure.
Mawetu to take this over. But
Secondly, I think one thing that we miss is, and when I say we, I'm talking about people in general.
Yes, Brian.
Is ukuba, those built up negative emotions that keep on getting bottled up, right, within a person, express themselves differently. We talked earlier on about drinking, suicide, anger. Anger. Those built up emotions that you can't express most likely end up coming across as anger, qala, and it is in the way that you speak, and then eventually you find that kuzabakho abantu aba abusive. It is because you have not been able to, and you haven't been given that room or space to express.
Wow. Thank you, Brian, for bringing that very important fact, because we often listen. I think what Brian has opened up here is maybe a response to a lot of things that women question about men. Why this person who loved me so much ends up acting this way, doing A, B, C, D, and F, and it's coming from these bottled feelings. I imagine Brian is suggesting that. It's because they're unprocessed emotions, right? For me, I still think it's another area where men need to really figure out what your role should be in relationships when it comes to provision. Because you will have a certain grouping of men that will say, I am not a bank, I'm not, a woman must do whatever they need to do for themselves. I'm not here to show up and to do that. Then on the other extreme, there is men that says, I will not have a woman that works a day in their lives. As long as I am alive, I will do everything in my power to make sure that my woman never has to labor a day in her life, right? And these two extremes exist within the context of South African men. And I don't have to come and validate, but I mean, if you can just draw from Utando Nestembu, you can see that is a man that is strongly anchored the home around his central provision. Forget that one wife might be able to or not. Now, it creates a very confusing platform for women, because women have the right to also say, I want a man that can provide, or I want a man that I can love, right? Now, within that context, where do we place the most healthiest position, for men? Do you want to provide? Is it the men that can't provide, that hate the men that provide, or that hate the expectation that they have to provide? Where are you as men on that? Niyazithenga ezweek or anizithengi? What's going on?
Ndakuhleka uzuke ufakele ii-lashes mna maske siqala apho.
What is Brian going on about?
No. Like I'm a very simple person, right? And I think in being simple, do we have food? Yes. Do our kids go to school? Good schools? Yes. Do we have a house? Yes. Do we have a car? Yes. Do we have good jobs? Yes. That is something that for me that is basic. If you can do more, to go ahead and do it. But do not put the pressure of you being able to do more on someone else who can't do as much as you can. And also, if you can't do as much, do not feel, we shouldn't be feeling the pressure of those who can do more. Now, my requirements for life in a relationship as a husband or a father are very simple. You eat, you sleep, you go to school, and we cool. If I can afford a trip, sure, let's go on a trip. But if I can't afford a trip, then it doesn't make me any less of a person or any less of a man. I think some of the issues that usually do come up, you spoke about men that will say, my wife will never labor a day in her life,
Yeah.
right? How are those relationships when you look at it? Aren't those women bullied from time to time? Don't you find more of a statistic where you will find...
But equally, somebody else would say men generally will make you cry, and sometimes it's better to cry on Emirates to Dubai, or to cry in a Cayenne than to cry in a Tez.
Is it okay? So basically, when you just want to cry, Nje?
No, I'm also saying women, because we can never be progressive in this issue as long as we try and unify people under one belief,
Yeah.
We have to understand, hence I'm taking you through the whole spectrum, that yes, you have men that are convinced that, you know what, I'm not anybody's banker. You must come able, and I will meet you there.
Sure.
And we will see how we both build, but I don't want to carry the burden of being the provider, right? But you also get men that are like, you will not work a day. It's a shame on my name, on my father's name.
Pride.
I was told that a woman does not have to work a day in their lives.
Pride.
From which end are you responding? Because if for somebody, okay, but anyway, let Brian go on.
I think that's a very proud person, and it is
Or able person.
Look, I mean, if you're gonna say Ndobana, it is shame on my name, that's just straight up pride. There's no shame on your name just because your wife works. Let's be realistic about it. It's not shameful. She has a job. She's allowed to. Uzawuthini when you die? Uzamshiya nemali okanye uzamshiya kuye imali?
These are two schools of thoughts
Yeah.
all together. Absolutely. And they're quite extreme. Yeah. Do you understand? And I'm only putting them out so that we demonstrate that these people are in this spectrum. Yeah. And they are African men in the context of what we're talking about, of provision. Where's come in?
Viwe, I always say people have got different preferences, and people are multifaceted, multidimensional, plural, if you like. Men come in different forms, shape, and sizes, different characteristics, habits, value systems, belief systems. So pick and choose the one that will be compatible to you.
And don't complain about the ones that aren't applicable
Absolutely.
to you. Because I think that's where we
You cannot
fight.
create a spec and say every single living species that is man must embody these. All right? Who makes you think every man is here with a mission to marry you, or every woman is here with a mission to marry you? So that's why we choose people that are compatible with our ilk, with our own kind. All right. So men should stop listening to that kind of noise and being reactive and reactionary to that noise, and start changing their own identity, their own set of circumstances, because they are trying so hard to fit in to the multiplicity of ideas that are being paraded and bandied about.
There's a problem when there's no indoctrination in a person.
Okay.
Where you live.
What indoctrination are we talking? Just for context.
We can say as a child, or rather as a man, this is how you are supposed to live. So if there's no maybe a plan, I'm lacking words to describe
at a personal level.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm thinking of an incident where I was talking to one of these chaps, and because he did not get his parental guidance, he lives by himself, he makes his own decisions, that has made him think that whatever he's doing is fine. For example, and he was 21 then, and he didn't see anything wrong with that until he was told. And to him, even now, after Eteya, because uzvile consequences of that, right? Then now, he's told, no, this is not right, blah, 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 blah. Still, akasabonto wrong, but because yena a city, it was too much for him. I'm referring to that indoctrination. I'm still going to my point. The point I'm eating. I love how there are similarities, although at times, most of the time, there's a dichotomy between Christianity and Africanism. Yes, African religion, if you like. But there are similarities because uba uthetha about amaXhosa in our instance, if family system is very key, family system where there's a mother and a child, which is quite similar to what the Bible then will be teaching us. I'm going to one of the principles as mentioned by Miles Monroe in the book I've just showed you. If then, as Miles Esichopa, one of the principles of a man is to be a teacher, is to be a provider, is to be a protector, there's going to be a problem. There's going to be a problem in our society because I need to be guided by something
I understand
not live by my whims. Yes, it's important that you make your choice once but there's black, there's white. But if you only know that there's black, there's a problem. Because you have nothing that can challenge what you know. Yeah, so I love that book because it talks about guidance as an unmarried young man who's aspiring to get married. I'm finding a blueprint because I don't have a father, I don't have a male figure in my family. When you get married, these are the expectations of a young married man. But through the book of Miles Monroe, Understanding the Purpose and Power of Man, I'm able now to learn that there are 7 principles that a man ought to go by. He makes reference to the Bible, you know. So that's very key.
That is a very good book. That is a very good book. I've read it myself. Now, you may find that having read these books, having empowered yourself with things that align with your faith, you are likely to run into individuals that are not from that school of thought. My point is, what do you do when it gets to that? Do you cave in and say, look, I've read Miles Monroe, but this is what the world on social media is saying? Or do you say, I've read Miles Monroe, or I've been told what I must and mustn't do by my father, by my mother, by my aunt, by my uncle. I will not yield to whatever the world is selling me out there, because I think it is not in line with my belief systems. So that's basically what I'm saying.
I understand.
That we are going to meet a whole lot of people that are guided by their own virtues, right? And not all of those virtues are going to work for you. So stop it when somebody walks away from what is your prescriptive idea on things. They call you names and stuff, and then you basically start to cower under the labeling, and you say, okay, fine, I'm not good enough, I'm not sufficient, because that will drive you straight into depression. That will drive you straight into depression. So I think we're saying the same thing here. It's just that, you know, when you have a blueprint, the beauty is, you know, when it clashes, when you come across virtues that clash with what you already know.
I love that. I think anchored in what you're saying, what I'm picking up, ladies, is that there's value in knowing who you are. I think there's value in knowing who you are, because you will not try and play into another person's game. You know, if you're playing within your comfort or your area of whatever, you know, then you get to create the rules within which you play. You know, you don't get to download somebody else's expectations. But I do like what Zolani had said, that unfortunately we have to find practices that anchor us. He spoke of indoctrination, you know, and I know that even if we don't believe in the same things, but it comes across in a lot of context, you know, that's outside Christianity only, where a man does become a provider. I think perhaps if I were to input and suggest maybe to men, whilst I would leave it to them to conclude how they want to position themselves, it would be to say there is nothing wrong in defining a man as a provider. I think it also protects your ego, right? Which you love protecting. So at least there's shared benefit. There's shared benefit because you provide. And then you also get to protect you. The ecosystem is not entirely turned upside down. But it does also mean that men need to be realistic. Don't play into fields that are above your training levels, you know? Don't go into spaces just because pictures on Instagram are looking great. Maybe that's high maintenance than you can afford. But you don't stop being a provider. Provide that loaf of bread. It does something to the structure of your family. Okay.
In boxing, they say don't punch above your weight.
Oh, thank you for that, Brian. In boxing,
Yeah.
they say.
You don't punch above your weight. Like you can't, as a featherweight, want to go and fight a heavyweight. Stay in your lane, basically.
All right.
I think that's what you say.
It is. It is
Yeah,
definitely.
stay in your
It
lane
is definitely.
constantly.
But I mean, we are going to be going for closing. But I will have failed the women nation if I didn't touch on a certain few things, which are now way off principle. Now we're going to have a gentleman's conversation. And I'm going to start with Zolani. And ladies, it is about to get hot. Okay. So sit tight.
Goodness.
You know, I read through something that you wrote here concerning forgiveness. I was like, modern men are discussing forgiveness. It's about to get interesting. I feel like I wish God were to add another 60 years because I want to start dating from scratch. Men are talking forgiveness. I feel like it's the one thing you guys really battle with, you know? Men will leave you for an idea that maybe you cheated as a woman. By some odd coincidence, like a bathroom, then you know, like it's a party. It's a real crisis for you because you're trying to get this man out of this bathroom, but then your man catches you. And then your man, without even listening to the story, decides it is unforgivable. Counter that with how many times women sleep with tears are crossing their whatever. What is this mid part of your face? Crossing this area. Right? After find out, which is repeated over time. Yeah, you forgave best. Yeah, let's make sure we keep getting her forgiveness, you know. The concept of forgiveness in men. Are we really growing up in that space? Are we really, really letting trivial things go and concentrating on the bigger part, on the bigger picture? Are we starting to have those conversations amongst men that I would do? Family is more important than focusing on one misfortune. You know, a lady just tripped and fell and, you know, those trivial things, you know. Are we there?
Forgiveness, to me,
Okay.
I also want to say, as I've said earlier, I would like to think to some extent it's got also to do with maturity again.
Okay.
But I don't want to lean on that. In that book, I talk about the battle between the mind and the spirit. But in simple terms, I'm talking about reasoning versus emotions.
Okay. Which I
Now,
love.
what you're asking is in line with that because
Okay.
to forgive is a conscious decision you make. Meaning you have to be more here than on your
Emotionally.
emotions.
Aikwenzi weak though, in the context I was speaking in.
Actually,
Well,
stronger.
if you are the person I said I am earlier, no.
Okay.
No. Because for
Right.
me, forgiveness is a personal thing.
I love that.
It's a personal thing. If you read further there, it says there are 3 people I mentioned that you have to forgive.
Yeah.
You have to you have to forgive yourself for having done wrong, right? Even to yourself. Then you have to forgive the other person. I forget that person.
Yeah.
The third person now. But the issue of forgiveness, it does not only relate to the other. It also refers to you.
I understand that.
individual,
I
because
understand
there
that.
could have been things that you really failed yourself in.
Come on.
And now then there comes a time where you have to talk to yourself, converse yourself. I was saying last night to a friend of mine, I'm very harsh to myself. I'm very harsh to myself before I go out there and I lay whatever I'm sharing with someone. I'm my first critique. And hence I'm saying, I'm not sure whether it's got to do with maturity or it's got to do with you more being more of the reasoning side. But for me, I'm there. So when another person now is involved, for example, what you mentioned about the bathroom.
No, it's
and
just like
all,
an
it
inconvenience, in the
becomes-
bathroom.
It becomes extreme, yes, but because you are so aware.
I think I like how you framed it about where you need to be. Because if you are in your mind, I guess the reality is that it's really so trivial, such a small issue. Is it not, Wes? Because, and I want to use the same analogy, stuck in the bathroom, and as you're making your way out, this gent comes in. And in my saving the situation after, fighting for my life, I'm now emerging from this cubicle with this man, right? The reality, and a reasonable person who thinks here, not here. What is the greatest loss, honestly, with that scenario that would allow you to carry it without treating it with the forgiveness it deserves? Because what is lost?
Before they come in, I just want to say something.
Yeah.
One point. In addition to what I was saying,
Okay.
you need to also be aware of the other. You know the patterns of the other,
Okay.
especially in line with the example you've just given.
I want to state, do you stay for patterns? Because I feel like men don't even get to a point where, has she done it? It's that you've done it. And I'm sure I speak of a different man because you don't operate in that space, where it's really, the decision is literally just here, right? Okay. Without the advantage of patterns, because men don't stay for patterns. And that's the context in which...
But if you are applying the reasoning part, then you can then see where these patterns are leading to.
I understand.
Yeah.
We're back at you.
Yeah. Look,
What has been lost?
a woman to a man is his sacred altar. All right. So
His what?
Sacred altar.
Okay.
All right.
And I want to,
So-
can we qualify it both ways? Just because I sit here and I have to make sure that when you're saying a woman to a man is an altar, is the similar, is similar also applied to the
your
male?
example was citing how we men feel
Okay,
about
thank you.
forgiveness
I
about
accept.
a certain offense. So
I-
I'm
okay.
answering that.
Okay.
One day we'll talk about female to man.
Okay.
All right. I don't want us to get caught up in this parity thing, in this toe to toe again.
But no love lost though.
That's where the problem is.
No love lost though.
Oh, love is a beautiful thing. Love is such a beautiful thing.
Let's go
So
with it.
my point was, it's this now the sacred altar, basically has got that depth that another man has tasted my beehive. So that is a loss for me.
So the
Something that was
assumption is that
meant
it had never
and
been-
sacred to me has
Can I
been
ask?
perverted.
Can I ask?
All right,
Is the assumption?
has been adulterated.
Is the
So that's
assumption?
a loss.
Is the assumption that the beehive had never been tasted? Okay.
Look, for as long as I've been with this woman, it
It's
doesn't matter
yours.
if it has been tasted before.
Okay.
But for as long as I've been with this woman, that has been preserved for me.
Okay. So it's not trivial, it's not something small.
It's very deep.
It's big,
It's
right?
very deep. It's
Okay.
sacred. Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, now I can answer your question. It works both ways.
I love that.
So
Okay.
I'll end it there.
I love that.
Are you happy now, Viwe?
But I've had conversations that almost upset me to a point where men will say, but women are stronger to carry the emotional baggage that's sometimes put on their shoulders by the very men they love. So I want to ask, are men emotionally weak in this bathroom situation? Do we accept that men are weak? Or must men honestly grow up to a point where Zolani is saying, your reasoning has got to sit elsewhere? It has got to take that lift and go up.
Look, I think you definitely need to be reasonable. Ungumntu.
Yeah.
And in order for you to reason well, you are going to look at what you were saying, patterns. Has this behavior ever happened before? And if it is repetitive la behavior, Leana, then of course there's something wrong there. That is how you reason. If it is a first time isenzeka lento lena, then you are able to reason into bana hayi noba inyani nyani manje uyomura la chep. You know, uyomura la chep.
Guys, men are toxic. Why muring?
Kutheni zawungena ebathroom umuntu amekha uyofunani? You see now, let's go to protection, provider and a protector, right? That's a man not protecting his ego, protecting his woman. That's me protecting my woman, but you should never do this again. Look, at the end of the day, you really do have to be reasonable, though. I mean, you can't be an emotional being, you can't allow your decisions to come from an emotional perspective. They need to come from reasoning. You use intellect before you run with emotion. And that is the era in which, or at least those are the men we need to be raising. We need rational, reasoning men.
What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So learn to live and grow
You
through
will
the
be
pain.
stronger either way.
I hope some of the stats that we opened up with, we get less and less men killing themselves because of reasons, like because 2 men seated or 3 men seated saying it's not worth dying over, and yet we have the kind of stats that we have in South Africa is still a bit of a problem, right? And men are in hospital. Men have mental issues, on issues is a fan of a cheating partner.
I lean on what you were saying, that what has someone's cheating have to do with you?
Yeah.
And that, I believe, it takes us back to self-awareness. Ngoba you need to, I don't know, I don't want to be redundant.
Yeah.
But it's very important that as a man, whatever you're going through, I think I'm closing. Whatever you're going through, one, don't be too hard on yourself. Don't suffer because of other people's decisions. You are being so cruel to yourself.
So you're agreeing with me that the decision to cheat is not your fault.
Because I'm selfish that way. But I always distinguish between positive and negative selfishness. Lena is positive selfishness.
I love that.
You are preserving yourself.
I love that.
You are preserving the internal work you have done. And the internal work,
it needs you to be deliberate
and
intentional.
After you've gone through stuff. So you can't then throw that away because of another individual or because of other people. No.
You see, this is what I meant by that bathroom incident. How trivial is that,
What did you mean by
Mawes?
it? What
It's
was the
such,
outcome?
to a point where I'm agreeing back again with Zolani. That
Zolani is
what
basically
does
saying men should not be suicidal for
Yeah.
such things, or men should not
From
write
cheating.
themselves off because a woman has decided that she sees no
Not necessarily women.
well,
Generally.
a cheating party.
Yeah.
it can work both ways, because it comes from a premise that cheating is wrong. It doesn't matter who is guilty. So
I'm
let us
laughing.
stop saying when men do it, it's acceptable socially. When women do it, it's an
No,
affront.
but we can all be honest to a point where, to some degree, it is trivial to you as a party that didn't participate in it, because your decision is how you interface with the person that has
Viwe,
cheated on
when
you.
someone close to your heart betrays you, that's not trivial.
Okay.
Somebody you hold in high esteem, somebody you are confident will never let you down, and then they let you down. We cannot call that trivial. But
What
over
has
time,
happened
perhaps
there?
you'll come to a realization that, look, after all, that person has actually betrayed my trust for them. They've actually violated
An
whatever
agreement, apparently.
vows, agreements, commitments, covenants,
I'm just here questioning whether or not, whether that's valid for somebody to allow themselves to get into a fully, I'm not saying going through Ugowa is something else, because you go through something and you emerge on the other side, men that actually kill themselves, men that are actually depressed over such things. And that for me, seems like, I mean, given the types of tough lives that we are leading today, that nobody has lived with. Our parents never lived in the world that we live in, with all the pressures that sit on us. That cheating person, something I regard as trivial, would become the reason for any man to end their lives or to end up in hospital, right? Where it's just an agreement that has been broken. You know, how many agreements are broken on a daily? I imagine the court roll is full of people that disagree on the fundamentals of their relationship, whether it's divorces, whether it's civil matters, but disagreements or broken promises are part of what it means to be human. Can we really die on behalf of somebody who exercised their choice?
Depression is not
Oh,
optional.
Absolutely.
Depression isn't optional. And
Absolutely.
how you react to something is relative to you. You will look at something and react to it in a different way. Like, it's like watching, I don't know, okay, let me not make an analogy in movies. In how you react to a cheating partner will never be the same as the next person.
Oh, yeah?
Omnye umntu will sit and think into bana, after all I've done, after all these years, after all these kids, after everything we've built together, omnye, after 5 minutes, you know what I mean? A big lot depression layer because they are considering yonke londo le into bana flip. I thought I'd done everything right.
I understand.
In order for this to not happen. Omnye i-reaction yakhe uzawufuna ukhaba instantly. Omnye will sink into a depression that will be very volatile for themselves, end up in the hospital. Omnye will think into bana, flip.
These are all...
This is the end. This is the end of the world for me. This is the end of life for me. And to a certain selfish extent, well, I do think in Dobana, when it comes to suicide, it is. I don't want to say it's selfish, but there is an element of selfishness in suicide, because you leave a void, you leave unanswered questions, you leave wounded and hurt people, you leave things unresolved when it comes to suicide. So I wouldn't say in Dobana, I mean, the bathroom situation I would say it's a trivial example because you can reason around the bathroom situation.
I love that.
But if you're going to come out of the bathroom fixing yourself with this ninja behind you, that's a completely different story. It means the act is done.
I just love what you're saying I interpreted it to mean when you change the way you look at things, even the things you look at change. If you are out there looking for reasons to be offended, looking for things to invalidate you, looking to think, oh my God, I'm not good enough, that's exactly what you're going to come back with from the same situation. Or you could just imagine this to be the trivial situation of a lady being stuck in a bathroom and a man coming in. Isn't that a beautiful version, though? Why are we feeding ourselves versions that are harmful to ourselves? Would you drink amanzi ebhetri? Why are you feeding yourself toxic? But anyway, I guess we will never agree, but I hope in my interrogation and in the use of the analogy around forgiveness, I hope we have managed to create the context to say maybe men need to reframe how they view issues. For example, the bathroom situation. I am a firm believer that you will always interact with life from whatever perspective you're looking at it from. If you're looking for things to invalidate yourself, you are going to have an ocean much reasons for you to believe that you are not the person that is intended to be here, that is on God's plan. You will be here thinking all sorts of other things that go sideways. Okay, so are we making peace with the bathroom situations, man? Are we going to be more forgiving? It is my hope for today. And as we wrap up, we are going to zoom in a bit and offer our guest a bit of time just to tell us more about the event that you are hosting, which I understand to be a men's conference. I know we've been calling out for it, ladies. We've been saying, these men need to be locked up somewhere and they need to talk. I had to make sure that we call in Zolani so that we know what are these men going to be talking about. Because bayahlala ebuhlanti, but we don't know what they talk about. And we never really see things, any change that maybe suggests that some of these conversations that are being held, Gobabland, are actually progressive for men as species and a gender that we love so much. So do tell us about your event. What is the men's conference about? When is it happening? And who's invited? Just the full rundown of what's going on.
Thank you. The men's conference, I like to always say, men's conference, men's conference, your father's love.
Okay, love it.
I always
Yes.
attach the theme
father's love
to
yes.
men's conference because it's not your ordinary men's conference.
Yes.
It's your father's love conference. So there we are inviting fathers, we are inviting sons. If you are a teenager, maybe 17, 18,
yes.
you are welcome.
Absolutely.
You are welcome as a young man. You are welcome as a 60-year-old man. We need all those age groups under one roof that day.
Oh, wow.
Hashtag 100 men, right?
100 men. Love
One would
it.
think that we will just divulge on your father's love. But I've seen through the interaction I've had with 7 student male residences in May,
Yes.
it cuts across various aspects of our lives,
Okay.
including relationships.
I love that.
Yeah, but when you look at the poster, you think, oh, your father's love. There are 4 sub themes attached to this.
Which are?
One, born out of wedlock.
As a
speaker
son.
on that. Sorry?
Is that a son born out of wedlock?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
But it can talk to the son. At the same time, it can talk to the father who has a child out of wedlock.
Wow, I love that. That's
Then-
progressive.
Then we have a speaker on silence by his father as abuse. Yes.
Oh.
Then there's a speaker on addressing the question, men, when will you claim back your position? Right? There are 4. There are 4 of them.
I want to check, what position are we saying men must claim? We just want to agree to the right things, as women.
That's what the speaker will be talking about.
Okay. Interesting.
And then after each speaker, there will be an interaction between the attendees and the speakers.
I see.
Yeah. So it's taking place on the 25th of July.
Yes.
Yes, at the Buffalo Cricket Stadium in one of their conference rooms. This is my 4th event, by the way.
Love it.
Of this nature.
Love
Last
it.
year it was a young man's conference.
Love it.
Redefining a young man's vision.
Okay.
Yes. The tickets are $250.
Okay.
You can find me on Facebook or TikTok, Zolani Mqatazana.
All right. Thank you for that, Zolani. Ladies and gentlemen, you've heard it. We have a men's conference coming up soon. Ladies, make sure your man is there. Make sure that man is amongst the 100 men that will have the privilege of coming together for the purposes of growing and making sure that we are healthy and we create healthy environments for our descendants. So a healthy father is a healthy nation. Can we call it that? Healthy fathers, healthy nation, because that's healthy sons, healthy leaders of society. So if you're a black man and you have been carrying it alone under the prefix indoda must, men don't cry, asko weak, we don't go seeking help. We see you, and we hope that this conversation has assisted you in framing what life should be. I hope you understand the value of understanding self. I hope you understand the value of knowing what it is that you are here about, and you center your life and your decisions on what works for you and not what is being told or what society projects on you. We need those types of men. We need men that understand that they have the permission, full permission given birthright by God to live their best lives, to live their most authentic lives, to live the most honest lives, because strength isn't just strength. Strength is strength if it's honest and if it's authentic. May we all walk in the light of knowing who we are, and may we all trust God for what He intended our lives to be. Can the real men of this world please stand up? Let's get healed, let's get healing, and let's not forget to attend the men's conference. It is a wrap.